Technical difficulties, amateur hour.
Not surprised.
Give me a second.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation.
Now, see, my macros aren't working. Doggone it. This wouldn't be my show without technical difficulties. I should just automatically start with the technical difficulties screen up because, you know, hey, that's how it works here. Anyhow, hello everybody. It is Friday, August 9th, 2019, and you are listening to and watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second. We have a lot of stuff to get into tonight. You know, the forces of gun control are on the march. From both sides of the aisle, unfortunately. I have a lot of stuff to talk to about that. And then, you know, there's some people going to do something about it, but we'll get into that later. For now, I want to go ahead and welcome my esteemed panel. In no particular order, we have the kingpin himself, David Bowling. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
The one, the only, he who strikes at night, Night Strike. How you doing, sir? Yeah, okay. You're not going to chat nap. You're not Gizzard.
I'm not Gizzard, no. So shall not be infringed. And yeah, I hope something's going to happen because, oh my God. Even the senator that in 2013 went on national television and with his AR-15 saying you're not going to ban this, is calling for gun control now. What the hell? And red flag laws.
No way.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, he's my senator.
That can't be right.
I know. It can't be right.
And finally, we have the lovable, yet irascible Squibload. How you doing, sir?
Hey.
Hey. That's all we get? Hey. Where is that? That should be... Doggone it. Let me get this... Again, my stinking, wonderful technical difficulties here. Gotta love them. Trying to get my YouTube chat viewer to come up. Why is that not working? Maybe I have to reauthorize it. It'll take me a second. Again, technical difficulties, amateur hour, etc., etc.
Did you try turning it on and off again?
Yes, I tried turning it on and off again. I don't know why I can't see this. Should be right here. What the stink? Let me refresh that. All right. Well, I'm done with trying to get that going. So if it comes up, it comes up. If it don't, it don't. We got more important things to worry about than whether or not my frou-fras and doodads are working like they should. Because first off, I'm going to go ahead and say hello to everybody out there on the YouTube side. We got Kingpin, Midnight Range, The Poor Conservative, Snob's Wife. Let me go on down here. Calaveras 32 Special. How you doing, Pickle? Jason Stewart says, barely awake, holding on for your show. OH. IO, brother. Dr. Recoil, how you doing, sir? Green Badger Outdoors, hi, welcome. Armament and Axes, fellow Buckeye. Night Strike is out there pulling double duty. Go check out his Indiegogo for the gun tube to help buy some hardware, some servers, so that he can run a streaming service from GunTube. You know, support the platform that supports us, right? Pickle, I might end up winning that tonight. I don't know. It is entirely possible. Because, you know how I get it. I'm passionate about this topic. I have no shame in that. I know we have some folks over there on the
We're all passionate about this topic.
Facebook side. So sound off in the comments, and I'll give you a shout out. You wanted to say something, Night Strike?
We're all passionate about this, so it's not your fault. But you do tend to go a bit overboard.
Coming from you, that just don't sound right.
Doesn't it? You know that's why I made the joke, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, shall not be infringed.
That's right. Let me see if I can get this doodad to work. Okay, so Snob's wife says she gave her thumbs up. She's going to bed. She's exhausted. Thanks for sticking around and watching at least the part of this dumpster fire. You have a good night's sleep.
You haven't even used the lighter yet.
I haven't even done what?
You're still pouring the lighter fluid. You haven't even started the fire yet.
I know. It's crazy, man. Speaking of lighter fluid and starting this fire, let me type this in here right quick. And hopefully my YouTube chat will come up on the screen. Hey, there we go. I just had to remove the source and restart it. So awesome. Cool. There. Now I feel better. All right. That way the people out on Facebook can see the YouTube chat. So cool. All right, getting into it. In the wake of the Gilroy atrocity and the El Paso atrocity and the Dayton atrocity, people on both sides of the aisle are screaming to do something. Earlier in the week, I went live and talked about how our wonderful Governor Mike DeWine decided that he wanted to initiate a slate of new gun control proposals, including universal quote-unquote background checks, which of course we all know will be ignored by criminals who will buy their guns the way that they do now anyway, from other criminals who've stolen them, or they'll steal them themselves, or some other, heck, you can make a gun yourself. So to say that these background checks are universal is a complete falsehood and naive at best. And red flag legislation as well, which, of course, violates the heck out of due process. But Mike DeWine wasn't the only one calling for such things. We have legislators, politicians, presidential candidates, even the guy sitting in the White House himself, from both sides of the political spectrum, not necessarily the spectrum, but both political parties, calling for more gun controls. Let's start with this piece from the Sacramento Bee. California Governor Gavin Newsom calls for national background checks to buy ammunition. By Brian Anderson, published August 5th, 2019. California Governor Gavin Newsom responded to the recent mass shootings at a gun violence meeting in Sacramento on August 5th, 2019. Since July, California ammunition buyers have had to submit to background checks before every purchase at an additional cost of $1. Now, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom wants to see a national law requiring the other states to follow suit. I'd like to see them model California's background check on ammunition purchases, Newsom told reporters Monday during a gun violence meeting with state leaders. Guns don't kill people. Guns require a dangerous component, and that's ammunition. Following the mass shootings in Gilroy, El Paso, and Dayton, Newsom said ammunition sales is a missing piece of the national discussion about how to reduce gun deaths. It's interesting we are debating background checks on guns, but we're not debating background checks on their dangerous component, he said. That's rather curious to me. It's an incomplete part of this debate. California voters overwhelmingly passed Proposition 63 in 2016, which, in part, enacted the added layer of review for ammunition sales. The new gun control law requires ammunition dealers... Where is it? The new gun control law requires ammunition dealers to run a buyer's ID through the state's automated firearms system. The system then informs the seller if the buyer has any felony convictions or other issues prohibiting the purchase. The California Rifle and Pistol Association filed a motion in San Diego federal court last month to block the new ammunition purchasing law. While making sure dangerous people do not obtain weapons is a laudable goal for government, California's scheme goes too far and must be enjoined, the group wrote. On Monday, Newsom and state leaders outlined a number of ideas to address gun violence, such as more school counseling and rigorous academic studies examining the issue. Those two I could get behind because they're not infringing on the rights of citizens. By the way, over on the Facebook side, we got Julie Michelle III and TJ Jenkins listening over there. So welcome. Let's see. But Newsom declined to throw his support behind any bills that would be considered when state lawmakers return to the Capitol next week. One plan would limit gun purchases to one a month, while another would expand gun violence restraining orders. He wasn't enthusiastic about creating a statewide gun buyback program. In some cases, it does a little good, but I don't think it gets to the magnitude of the challenge we have, the gun culture that's so dominant in this country. Well, that's because the gun culture is American culture, my friend. And any of these proposals that you're wanting to infect the rest of the country with have failed miserably in California. California has all these things that the anti-gunners want. They have universal, quote-unquote, background checks. They have assault weapons bans. They have these ridiculous background checks on ammunition. They have purchase limits. They have all this stuff, and they failed utterly to stop the Gilroy shooting. What do you guys think? Is Newsom on the right track, or is he just an absolute nut job?
He's an absolute nut job, and I swear to God, if they try to enforce something like an ammo background check law in South Carolina, I'm rebelling.
I was going to say, you're already revolting.
I've seen you in the mirror too.
You've seen me in the mirror? Okay, that's odd.
I mean, on camera.
Oh, okay, yes, and even beautiful 1080p now, right?
I think you're stretching the beautiful just quite a bit.
Aw, now you're gonna make me feel bad. Let's see. Alaskan AK guy says budget.
I'm sure you can handle it. You hear worse on a daily basis.
Oh yeah. Alaskan AK guy says budget. Grab more mags and lowers while you can. Yeah, I'm not. Shoot. I think that's always a good idea. Let's see. Oh, we got TJ and Julie watching over here on the YouTube side too. Welcome to the show. Hope you like what you see. Alaskan AK says, my friends, something is definitely coming. This time feels different than past mass shootings. Trump and McConnell is on board with gun control laws, so stock up. Yeah, I'm going to get there. That's going a little bit ahead. I'm definitely going to get there. Yeah. Definitely going to get there. But Newsom isn't the only politico calling for such things. Here we have an article by AWR Hawkins and Breitbart from August 6th. Joe Biden calls for gun controls that failed in Dayton, Ohio. Excuse me, please. Democrat presidential hopeful Joe Biden responded to the weekend shootings by calling for gun controls that already failed to stop the Dayton, Ohio attack. Biden tweeted that Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican, Kentucky, should reconvene the Senate and pass the House's universal background checks bill. He added, "We cannot wait to take action." Biden tweeted The problem Biden's recommendation is that the Dayton, Ohio gunman acquired his firearm legally. He ordered it online, and it was shipped to a gun store near him where federal law mandates that he pass a background check before taking possession of the gun. Background checks for retail gun sales in the U.S. have required a background check since 1998. Universal background checks simply mandate that private gun buyers undergo a background check as well, but that is a scenario that does not even apply in Dayton, as the shooter got his via background check at retail. Biden used another tweet to lump Chicago gun violence with El Paso and Dayton, saying, "We cannot go on like this. We must muster up the courage to take on the NRA and pass common sense reform and end our gun violence epidemic." The problem is, Joe, that your common sense reform is neither. It's uncommonly stupid restriction.
Hold on, Joe.
Go ahead.
I have to ask, was it your response to being secure in your home, just buy a double-barrel shotgun?
That's all you need. Stick it out the window and let off a blast.
Well,
I promise you won't have any problems. Except when the police come and arrest you for discharging a firearm in public. But, you know.
What happened to your buy a shotgun stance? Is that over now, too? Joe, you're giving us mixed messages here.
I think Joe is a mixed message.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Let's see. Biden did not mention that Chicago, like all of Illinois, has a gun owner's licensing requirement via firearm owners' identification cards. They have a 72-hour waiting period on gun purchases and a minimum purchase age of 21 for long guns and short guns. Additionally, Cook County regulations put artificial limits on the number of gun stores in Chicago, placing limitations on where guns can be legally acquired. Yet Chicago witnessed 53 shot, 7 fatally, over the weekend.
Because criminals are the only ones that have guns and the cops in Chicago.
That's right. Let me go back out here to the chat. Let's see.
You guys didn't turn on the TV and see that all the major news stories were about Chicago and the 53 shot over the weekend? You didn't see any of the newspaper? I mean, every newspaper in the country had it front page, even Sports Illustrated. You know, I'm flipping through the TV right now, and every single channel on television is playing the news about the 53 shot.
You're lying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Nobody
I thought so.
cares about that.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that. And
Dr. Recoil says, budget guns and gear, I'll tell you one thing. In California, you can still buy a gun, but no ammo. Guns equals federal, ammo equals California DOJ. We're effectively disarmed. Boy, I wonder if that's like by design. I know I'm being facetious there. It's absolutely by design.
There's a big difference between the stuff that Gavin Newsom is doing with the ammo background checks and the banning guns and all that other kind of nonsense. That's straight up anti-Second Amendment, anti-gun as you can get. But we got to understand that all these politicians running around... Listen, all these politicians running around with their heads on fire right now screaming about background checks and red flag laws don't realize that that's anti-American. They don't realize that that's anti-Second Amendment. They think that they're doing something that's going to help people and calm people down.
You know what I think about that, Kingpin?
I understand. The depths of it, they understand that it's about control and it's about disarming people. But when we look at Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, you're going to tell me Lindsey Graham overnight became anti-gun? I don't believe that. I don't believe that that Lindsey Graham is pro-gun as us, but I believe he likes his gun, and I believe that he's going to push for background checks because he doesn't think that's anti-Second Amendment. You know,
you might be right on that score.
That's the important part of the education. We're never going to be able to teach Lindsey Graham anything. I don't care how many letters you write him.
No.
I don't care how many times you protest in front of his office. But your next door neighbor, you can teach something. So that's why it's so important when we talk about these red flag laws and these background check infringements that we really tell people how bad it is and why it's an infringement on our rights. Not because we just don't like it, but we have to like really let them know, because they don't think it's anti-gun. They think it's doing something right. We hear it all the time. Who doesn't want common sense background checks? What does that mean? Do you want crazy people having guns? You know, we all hear that every single day when these conversations come up.
Here's the problem, though, and this is why I oppose so-called universal background checks. Because they don't work. They don't do anything. The only thing they do is add a stumbling block, a hurdle, in front of law-abiding citizens' exercise of their rights. Because a criminal, by very definition of the word, is going to ignore the law. They're not going to follow it. They're not going to obey it. They're not going to do anything like that. All they're going to do is, as I said, go underground to buy their guns. And so the problem isn't going to be solved. So the next step, after universal background checks are proven not to work, is registration. Because, well, how can we know if somebody's selling a gun to their neighbor without getting a background check unless we know who has what guns?
And then after registration comes confiscation.
Every
we have no
single time.
And you know what? And then, guess what? We have to get our guns off the black market. And at that point, fuck it, I'm getting a machine gun.
Language. But
Sorry.
You might as well be hung for a sheep as a goat, right?
Right. But I apologize for language, but that's how frustrated we all are. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it, and I know I should do better language. I apologize.
That's all right. I'll forgive you this time. But, you know, this keeps going on and keeps going on and keeps going on, and they keep adding more and more to it. Here's a piece by Chris Anderson from WOIO here in Ohio. It's from August 8th, from, yesterday. Ohio lawmaker proposes bill to require universal background checks for all gun purchases. Cleveland, Ohio. Less than a week after a deadly mass shooting in Dayton, a state representative introduced legislation that would require universal background checks before any firearms transactions in Ohio. State Representative Phil Robinson, a Democrat from Solon, proposed House Bill 317 on Wednesday with Democratic co-sponsor Representative Adam Miller. The bill, titled the Protect Law Enforcement Act, would close all loopholes in Ohio that allow gun sales to occur without a background check. You know, being able to lawfully dispose of your lawfully acquired property in a lawful fashion is a loophole, apparently. And if they create loopholes wherever they want, whenever they want to gin up outrage and fear-mongering so that they can get support for the garbage they want to do. But I digress. Federal law currently requires licensed gun dealers to perform a background check when a firearm is purchased. The plea legislation would hold unlicensed dealers in Ohio, including sellers at gun shows and online or private sales, to the same standards. Online sales, as we all who actually know, are already regulated and forced to go through a background check via a licensed FFL. And gun shows, if you're an FFL at a gun show, have to go through the background check. As far as private sales, as I said, that's a private individual disposing of their lawful property in a lawful fashion. To reduce violent crime and deter self-harm, we need to keep guns out of the hands of minors, felons, criminals, and domestic abusers. Well, gee, isn't that already illegal? I thought so, said Representative Robinson. Closing the loophole in the background check process will help end easy access to guns by those who should not have guns and anyone who would sell them firearms. Again, it's already illegal to sell firearms to those people. So what, you're going to make it more illegaler? That's about the same logic. If passed, a national instant criminal background check would need to be processed immediately at the time of transaction. This approach not only makes everyday Ohioans safer, but it aids and protects our local law enforcement, added Representative Robinson. For each person that poses a danger with a gun that doesn't have one after failing a background check, that's one less crime scene where an officer or civilians could lose their lives. Fear-mongering. Unlicensed private firearm sellers would have to complete a gun sale at a federally licensed dealer or with assistance from a law enforcement agency that conducts background checks. According to Representative Robinson's office, Ohio had the most number of ads on online gun marketplaces for firearm sales that would not require a background check in 2018. So, yeah. Here we go with this same old crap. Unfortunately, there's also a ballot initiative being circulated in Ohio, a petition for a ballot initiative by a so-called grassroots, which is actually an AstroTurf, Bloomberg-funded common sense gun safety organization that is trying to do this through the amendment and ballot initiative process here in Ohio. So we have to fight that too. But I'll get back to the fight against these things. More for this in a minute. Yeah. Squib, you've been silent. Do you have anything to add to the discussion so far today? Squib? Okay. Did I lose you guys in the panel?
No.
Okay. Squib, just key your mic twice if you're okay. That's all. Armament and Axis says they might be talking about sites like Gunbroker where you can meet the seller in private. That could be. That could be. Jason Stewart says red flag laws equal no crime committed, arrested on an opinion. Exactly. Dusty One says all of us in this chat are in risk of red flag laws. That might be. That might be. Gee, I hope Squib's not like driving home and wrecked because of being on the chat or something. If you're listening, Squib, if you can hear, just chime in whenever you can, brother, because I want to make sure that you didn't meet the ditch or something. Moving on. This more details are coming out about the Dayton loser and what happened in that incident. One moment, please, while I have some of my refreshing Gold Peak iced tea. Unfortunately, that's not a paid product advertisement. I wish it was. So it looks like they finally, I don't know if you guys have already been talking about this during the week. I really haven't had a lot of time to pay attention. I have either been at work or sleeping or doing running errands and stuff during the day. So please forgive me if I've missed this on your guys' chats. But here's an article from the Cincinnati Enquirer from August 5th. Says Dayton shooter used a modified gun that may have exploited a legal loophole. Again, it's with these loopholes. Even though it looked like a rifle, the gun used to kill 9 people and wound at least 14 more was likely classified as a pistol, skirting laws that restrict short-barreled rifles. Well, the device on the loser boy's weapon, by the way, it's naming him, and I'm not naming the guy. He's the Dayton loser or loser boy or something like that. I'm not going to give him the dignity of using his name. Will the device on loser boy's weapon, called a pistol brace, become the next bump stock in the nation's gun control debate? Here's what we know about the AR-15 style .223 caliber firearm used in the Dayton shooting Sunday. It was legally purchased by the loser from an online retailer in Texas. It then was transferred to him by a local firearms dealer who would be required to perform a background check, police said. Okay, totally perfectly legal transaction. Nothing on the loser's criminal record would have prevented him from buying a gun. Okay, so why would we have to worry about universal background checks in this case? It would have done nothing. He used legal to own 100-round drum magazines. The lower receiver, which houses the trigger, was made by Anderson Manufacturing in Hebron, Kentucky. I've got like a bunch of those because they work and they're not super expensive. Under federal law, the lower receiver is the gun. Purchasing a lower receiver requires a background check. All other parts of guns, such as barrels and stocks, can be bought legally off the shelf or online. Yeah, because that's the law. The loser could have had as many as 250 rounds in his possession. He fired at least 41 rounds in about 30 seconds. Well, I usually have a heck of a lot more than that in my possession when I go to the range. There's nothing real sinister about that. But again, it's fear-mongering. On Monday, Dayton Police Chief Richard Beal said the loser's gun was modified in essence to function like a rifle and to avoid any legal prohibitions. He did not specifically cite a pistol brace, but photos of the weapon released by police show one. I believe actually it was a shockwave blade, just like I have on my 10.5-inch AR. The federal restrictions on short-barreled rifles were enacted to stop people from making rifles, guns fired from the shoulder, more concealable. Rifles typically can fire more powerful cartridges than pistols, and shoulder stocks allow the rifles to be fired more accurately, which is exactly why it should be no problem to have a rifle of whatever length, because they are more accurate to fire and thus safer to fire if you have to. You have far less chance of a miss and collateral damage. Furthermore, rifles are used in far less frequency than handguns or other weapons in any killings. As a matter of fact, according to FBI data, people are beaten to death with hands and feet more than they're killed with rifles. But again, fear-mongering to support and advance their agenda. It is illegal to own a rifle with a barrel shorter than 16 inches without paying $200 for a National Firearms Act tax stamp and completing all the related paperwork and background checks. The process is similar to legally owning a fully automatic rifle. That's a true statement. It is similar. It is unclear if the loser went through this process, but the firearm he used did have a barrel shorter than 16 inches. Of course, he didn't go through the process if he legally bought a AR-15 pistol, whether it's equipped with a brace or not. AR-15 style firearms can be rifles or pistols. A pistol can have a short barrel but no shoulder stock. A rifle can have a shoulder stock, but the barrel must be 16 inches or longer. Enter the pistol brace, also known as a stabilizing brace. For all practical purpose, this device allows pistols with short barrels to have something resembling a shoulder stock. Companies began marketing pistol braces in the early 2010s after getting approval letters from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. The braces are designed to be strapped to the arm, allowing AR-15 style pistols to be more easily fired with one hand. Many of these devices closely resemble shoulder stocks and can be used in that fashion, which raises another question for the ATF. If you put a pistol brace to your shoulder, does that turn your gun into something illegal? The ATF has gone back and forth on its answer. The agency has issued several open letters, which are not law but indications of how the agency plans to interpret the law. In 2012, the ATF issued a letter saying braces could be attached to a pistol without turning the weapon into a short-barreled rifle. In 2015, the agency said firing a pistol from the shoulder with a brace would not constitute a redesign and would require all the necessary paperwork and taxes. When brace manufacturers sought more clarification, the ATF again appeared to change its stance in 2017. The ATF said incidental, sporadic, or situation use of an arm brace from the shoulder did not constitute a redesign, but taking affirmative steps to configure the device as a shoulder stock would, such as removing straps intended to wrap around the arm. Dean Reich, the executive director of the Buckeye Firearms Association, said trying to ban firearm components will not prevent the next mass shooting. After every shooting, we see the same pattern, Reich said. People have certain pet laws that they want to see passed. You'll probably see various laws proposed. In terms of pistol braces, Reich said, things like that don't really make a difference. If your purpose is to harm people, that configuration is not ideal anyway. After the Las Vegas mass shooting, Cincinnati and Columbus attempted to ban bump stocks, which can increase the rate of fire of a rifle. Reich's association successfully blocked the bans by invoking Ohio's preemption rule, which stops cities from overriding state gun laws. Chief Beal has not said if he believes the short-barreled and pistol brace assisted Loser Boy in the killings, but he did take a stance on the level of firepower used in the attack. Asked about the 100-round magazines, he said, it's problematic. It is fundamentally problematic. To have that level of weaponry in the civilian environment unregulated is problematic. So, gee, I wonder what his political affiliations are. Out there in the chat, looks like he's been pretty active. Let me go back and see what I can see. Vincerial Otmori says, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Thomas Jefferson, absolutely right. Enrique Sonora joined us. Hello, hello. And hello to Vincere. I don't think I've recognized your name, so welcome to the chat. Let's see. So, there we've caught up to that. I'm going to tell you what I predict. I predict that pistol braces are going to go to the way of the bump stock. And I also predict one other thing. I will not comply. Don't care. You know, how horrible. Boating accident, whatever. I will not ever comply with that. I mean, you were struck by the illegal and unconstitutional, in my opinion, bump stock ban night strike. Do you think the same thing might come with this?
I don't know. There are a lot of people that have high capacity drums and magazines, and there might be enough push to prevent those. But the blade fins and the pistol braces might be gone for good.
What do you think, Kingpin? Do you think there have a limited lifespan for the pistol brace?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't see that gaining very much traction. It's a pretty hard argument to make for literally a piece of plastic. You know, the bump stock is a piece of plastic that actually did something, so they could say, look at what this thing does, where the brace really doesn't do anything except for skirt along the short barrel rifle rules.
Even if they do go and even succeed in any sort of ban on any of that, you also have to look at it in court. They're going to argue that they can use this as a statistic now, because it's happened more than once in the past couple of years that someone left wing, completely crazy, but part of the left has gone and shot and hurt people, and it hasn't been the regular people that own this stuff. It's always been someone on the left. So you could argue that maybe it's not a problem with gun owners or the conservatives themselves, but those radical elements of the left that don't understand how things are supposed to be.
You also have to take into consideration that a whole lot more people probably have AR pistol blades or braces and whatever other little knob.
I would guarantee there's a whole lot more people with pistol braces than there were bump stocks.
And hopefully there's enough of them to fight back.
A lot of people didn't even know what the bump stock was, and I'm one of them. I had no idea what a bump stock was.
It would have been legal in your state anyways, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. Squib, are you there? I'm actually kind of starting to worry about the old Squibby. There he is. You there, brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Just hadn't heard from you. You all right?
Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah. Good. There's proof of life anyway. He didn't get tar-dotted. He's not stuck, chained up in the basement by gunpowder. So, yeah. All right.
Hashtag free tar-dot.
What's that?
Hashtag free tar-dot.
That's right. Hashtag free tar-dot. Tactical Pickle out there, Calaveras 32 Special, says the brace will go the way of the dodos. I don't know if it will or not. I think there'll be some push for it, but I believe there's a lot more people who own those than own the bump stock. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I don't know. I know they're going to try. I see that happening. Speaking of things that I see happening, let's move on to a couple more problems that we're having. And this time, so far everything I've mentioned has been coming from the Democratic side of the aisle. That comes as no surprise. every single time there's a tragedy like this, every single time there's an atrocity like this, because it's not a tragedy is something man-made like a tsunami. This is intentionally done by a human being. That's an atrocity. Every time there's an atrocity like this, the usual suspects, the anti-gunners, the hoplophobes, the prohibition lobby, uses it to further their agenda. We're used to that. You know, I scream about this all the time, about how it disgusts me and whatnot, but I expect it. Now we have people on the Republican side of the aisle doing the same thing, or at least being open to the idea. By A.W.R. Hawkins, August 5th. President Trump calls for red flag laws following Texas, Ohio shootings. President Trump called for red flag laws Monday morning during remarks on the Texas and Ohio shootings. Trump said, "I am directing the Department of Justice to work in partnership with local, state, and federal agencies, as well as social media companies, to develop tools that can detect mass shooters before they strike." I guess, we need to get some precogs in a vat and start doing the Minority Report thing. He then referenced the February 14, 2018 Parkland shooter, noting that he had sent up many red flags with his behavior prior to the shooting, but no one took action to stop him. So, yeah, you're absolutely right on that, El Presidente. But that's not a red flag. That's not something that the red flags would fix. That's something that Broward County Sheriff's Office, actually doing their freaking job, would have fixed.
There was policies set at the Obama administration that also kept that kid out of trouble.
Yeah, there's that too. There's absolutely that too. Let's see, where are we? Squirrel. I got distracted for a minute. Okay.
Squirrel.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. And no one took action to stop him. Trump voiced support for red flag laws, also known as extreme risk protection orders. He explained, "We must make sure that those judged to pose a grave risk to public safety do not have access to firearms, and that, if they do, those firearms can be taken through rapid due process." On August 4, 2019, Breitbart reported that Representative Dan Crenshaw's Republican Texas also responded to the Texas and Ohio shootings by calling for red flag laws. Senator Lindsey Graham also called for them in a tweet, writing, "Time to do more than pray. Time to enact common sense God, I hate, because it isn't common sense. Common sense, I can't even say the phrase. Time to enact common sense legislation in Congress to empower states to deal with those who present a danger to themselves and others, while respecting robust due process." The problem is there are already mechanisms in place to have someone declared mentally incompetent. How about we just use those? Those respect due process. Let's maybe streamline the process. If you want to set up courts that are just for that so that those cases can move through the courts more rapidly, I'm all for that. But these red flag orders are nothing more than just confiscation by another name. You cannot abridge someone's constitutional rights without following due process. That's in violation of the 4th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. You have to be able to confront your accuser. You have to be able to present evidence in your own defense. You have to be able to cross-examine witnesses. If you cannot do those things, these red flag legislations don't even let you know it's happening until they come beating on your door at 5 a.m. to take your guns. And if you resist in any way, they'll kill you. Just ask the fellow in Maryland. Go ahead, Kingpin.
But don't you realize that this is only for a mentally ill person that a medical professional has deemed mentally ill after long, extensive sessions of one-on-one meetings with this person? I mean, that's exactly what it is. There's no way. I mean, how could you?
It could never happen that, like, your sister, say you had an argument with them and
guys,
come and take your guns and kill you? That couldn't happen, right?
No, it's impossible.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Night Strike.
The earlier paragraph that you said, just ask the guy in Maryland, and then you asked David Bowling. You do know that's where David lives, too, right?
Yeah, I know. That's why I know he knows exactly what case I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're about 45
you
minutes.
made it sound rather ambiguous there, so I just want to mention that.
Yeah, but that's how they sell it. That's the used car salesman, snake oil salesman, or whatever you want to call it. Is every one of them, from Crenshaw to Trump to Pelosi to all these pundits on TV and talking heads, is we're going to keep crazy people from having guns. Don't you want that? Don't you understand that a doctor, somebody who cares about people and how they feel and how their lives are going to make sure that a sick person's going to get help instead of a gun? And it's a total shell game.
Yep. Well, you know, as they say on the infomercials, but wait, there's more. This is by Ian Hanchett in Breitbart from August 5th. GOP Representative Kinzinger, treat all political extremist violence as terrorism, raise age to buy guns, implement universal background checks. On Monday's broadcast of CNN's Cuomo Primetime, Representative Adam Kinzinger, Republican, Illinois, argued that all forms of violent political extremism should be treated as terrorism, which I actually kind of agree with. No, not kind of. I do agree with it. The age to purchase a gun should be raised to 21. No. And there should be universal background checks. Absolutely not. Kinzinger said that any political extremism that resorts to violence should be legally treated as terrorism, and this is absolutely terrorism. As much as I hate ISIS, I hate white nationalism and any political violence like that. Well, I can agree with that statement. Violence for political reasons is just asinine. It meets the definition of terrorism, and anyone who engages in it should be treated as such. Completely agree. He added, I think gun purchases need to be raised. The age needs to be raised to 21. Right now, to buy a handgun in this country, you have to be 21. And the initial thought was, well, we're exempting under, basically, long guns, because that's things like hunting gear and shooting shotguns. But I think that now, obviously, is defining things like purchasing an AR, which are, in many of these mass shootings, is actually used. No, actually, the numbers show that the majority of mass shootings use handguns. So I think raising that age to 21, still allowing people in the military to carry their service weapon, oh, gee, how nice of you, or cops that are under the age of 21. The next thing is, we do need universal background checks and doing it in a way that it's not cumbersome when there's a private transfer. If I'm going to buy a weapon for my father, for instance, which I've done before, that doesn't have to be cumbersome. And I think looking at the heart that exists too, and the recognition that there is real evil, why are people feeling both this draw to evil, the draw to violence? Why are they feeling totally isolated in this country? That's not a government solution. None of it's a government solution. None of the things you're talking about would do jack to stop anything. Again, criminals, by definition, break the law. Secondly, where's this notion that, well, if they're under 21, we can trust them with machine guns and tanks and bombs and all that garbage in the military, you know, because they're using them because we say so. Or if they're a cop, we can trust them to have guns and the authority to use it if they think they need to because we say so. But if you're a common peasant, you can't. So where does that come from? And second, what's this notion that 18 to 21 isn't really a full adult? You know, that's either you're an adult or you're not an adult. And if you're an adult, you should have the rights and responsibilities of an adult. If you're not an adult, then you shouldn't have the responsibilities that can go along with those rights. You know, you should not. Here in Ohio, they recently raised the smoking age to 21 to buy cigarettes. Not that I'm a smoker, not that I think people should smoke, but if you're an adult, you know, what's that they say about murdering innocent babies? My body, my choice. If you're an adult, your body, your choice. Go ahead and smoke them up. But nope, not here in Ohio because the nanny state knows better. They know what's best for you. And it's the same thing that's coming with this stuff. The nannies know what's best for you. If you're under 21, well, you can't be trusted to have a firearm unless you're bearing it in our name. What do you guys think on that?
Well, you go back to the part you were talking about with the terrorist organizations, and you can come down. I'll take you over to Baltimore City, and you can ask the neighbors that are trapped in their houses with the drug dealers standing in front of their house, 24 hours a day, what they think a terrorist is. I mean, that's one of the things we need to stop doing is coddling these criminals. These people who MS-13, the Bloods, the Crips, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Black Panther Party, all these other kinds of radical groups, they're just domestic terrorists. They're no different than ISIS. They just don't pray 5 times a day.
That's it. Oh, yeah, and Armament Axis brings up something great. And it dovetails with exactly what I was saying. He says the same politicians that want to lower voting age are the same ones that want to raise the age for gun violence, for gun purchases. So, yeah, if you're not responsible enough to own a gun until or smoke a cigarette until you're 21, but a 16-year-old can vote. Could that possibly be because 16-year-olds are pretty stupid and, well, not necessarily stupid, but they're very impressionable and moldable and easily swayed? Could that be it? Maybe to vote for them? People at that age usually think with their heart and not their mind. So, and trust me, I deal with a lot of them. And so, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. The hypocrisy of it that makes me sick.
I say your vote's more dangerous than any gun anyway. And then, was it Vincera out in the chat said, those that would be inclined to call for more restrictive gun laws based on recent tragic events should consider this simple fact that making good people helpless does not make bad people harmless.
Absolutely right. But, as I've said, well, Vincera, you may not have watched the show before, so you don't know that I say this all the time. So I have to remember that we have some new people here. And so I'll say this for the 1,000,000th time for the rest of you, and the first time for you guys. Gun control is never about the gun. It's always about the control. Period. That's what it comes down to. It's not gun control, it's people control. So, we have more people from the who are nominally or allegedly Republicans calling for gun control. I'm going to read both of these articles here together because they're both short. From another one from Breitbart. Yeah, I'm hitting Breitbart pretty hard this week, but this is where this stuff is. John Kasich calls for more marches to demand gun control legislation. By Pam Key. Sunday on CNN,
Big
former
surprise.
Governor John Kasich, Republican Ohio, said the American public, actually that should read Rhino, Ohio, said the American public needs to march to demand gun control legislation in the aftermath of 2 mass shootings in Ohio and Texas. Kasich said, I hear all the thoughts and prayers. I can pray with the best of them, but prayer without action doesn't matter. He continued, you want gun control legislation? People need to start marching like Parkland, Florida. Florida had no interest in passing gun control legislation whatsoever until thousands of incredibly brave students demanded it. The people of the state demanded it. He means the ones that Bloomberg paid and then the paid people to show up at the rallies in the marches and stuff? Yeah. He added, you want to get gun control legislation, begin to march for it, and you will get it. To me, I think Trump is open to considering broadening background checks by Ian Hanchett from 8th August in Breitbart yet again. On Thursday's broadcast of MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell reports, Senator Pat Toomey, Republican Pennsylvania, stated that he believes President Trump is open to considering broadening background checks based on his conversations with the president. Toomey also said that if there is legislation that enjoys bipartisan support and would be signed by the president, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, would be very open. Toomey said, I've spoken with the president several times this week, and our conversations, they're about what we can do and what we should do. And I think the president is open to considering broadening background checks. I won't go into the specifics of a private conversation, but I will say the president is very much interested. He's listening, and I think he wants to work with Congress and accomplish something. He later added, if we have legislation that has broad bipartisan support that the president's willing to sign, then I think that Mitch McConnell would be very open. Yeah, stop. Go back. Trying to look at these comments over on the Facebook side, so my bad. Let me see what the comments say over there. I'm trying to get to you guys. I don't want to ignore you. I really am trying not to. Doggone it. Sorry. Technical difficulties. That's usually the way it is around here. If you guys decide that you want to come back to this dumpster fire, you'll see that's what happens a lot. Technical difficulties. It is amateur hour at its finest. Okay. So, there we have it. We have everybody and their brother on both sides of the aisle calling for more gun restrictions. I think that nationally, we're probably going to see a movement for universal background checks. I suspect that's going to happen. I suspect that
and watch some people who own guns already and don't do any harm are going to lose their guns because of the national background checks, or they'll put a thing about mental health, and more people will lose their guns. It's coming. Watch.
Yep, absolutely right. Calaveras says, "How about the firefighter in Missouri who detained the idiot who walked into the store with a gun, supposedly to make statements?" We're going to talk about that in the last segment. I've kind of got it as a self-defense shout-out, but not really, so it's kind of going to be a bridge the gap. But yes, we'll talk about that one. Which brings me... So we have Kasich calling for us to march. Well, for gun control supporters to march. Well, we need to oppose that. As those of you who were listening to Rants and Raves the other night know, I had every intention to sponsor a rally in Columbus on September 14th. I reached out to some gun rights people here in Ohio and found out that someone beat me to it. So we have someone out there in the chat. You can out yourself if you wish as the organizer of this. Is organizing, has already organized a pro-gun rally at the State House in Columbus on September 7th at noon. Let me throw the link out there in the chat as soon as I can get it. So there you go. Julie Sparks out there says she's Julie Michelle III. By the way, one of the organizers of the We Won't Comply Americans Against Red Flags. So that's where I'm going to throw my support, people. Why try to replicate something a week later when it's already there? So if you are in Ohio or a neighboring state, please come join us on September 7th at the State House in Columbus from noon till, is it from noon to 5 or noon to 6? To help us fight against these gun control legislations proposed by our wonderful Do Something DeWine and called for by our former John Kasich. So, yeah. Let me...
No, I think you had it right the first time.
Well, you know, I don't want to be... I don't want to be abusive. Well, okay, maybe I do want to be abusive, but I shouldn't be abusive. How about that?
Those aren't the words I would use for him, but, you know, hey, knock yourself out. I call him something else just because of the 2016 election, so.
Yeah. I promise I will get to this. Here we go. Here is a link to the Facebook group that is talking about this. Go there, folks. If you're an Ohioan or a Pennsylvanian or anywhere nearby, or shoot, even from far away if you want to come help out, be part of this, help us make a stand, and let the people in the State House know that we will never, ever, ever give up the fight, follow that link and help, do what you can to support this. Share it, spread it around. Those of you who know some of the bigger YouTubers who may be willing to help publicize this, please spread that link around and ask them to give us a hand with making this known. I've got like 4,101 subs. We know of some people out there with a lot more than that they can spread this. So let's get this going. It is a Saturday on the 7th. So you have your weekend off. Awesome. It's far enough out that you can... Calavera says Ohio is a bit of a drive for me. Slacker! But, it's far enough out. You can get a vacation day, request it off. I'll be there for sure. So, let's get this going, guys. We need to fight this stuff wherever we can. Let's see. Armament Axer says the Creator Summit is the following weekend, but going to go to the rally. I will share. Outstanding. Yeah, the Creator Summit is the weekend after that. So let's get this going. It needs some help, and it needs some bodies so that we can send the message. Because the message we don't want to send is like 15 people showed up. That would really, really tell them that, hey, it's okay to do this garbage. Nobody cares. And this is the problem that we have to face in this fight is apathy. Well, somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else will do it. There is no somebody else, people. There's you. If you can see this, it's you. If you're watching this, it's you. If you just clicked into this, it's you. Get up. Do something. Be part of it. Be part of the solution to the problem. Sitting there doing nothing, that's not part of the problem. Now, if you can't make it, I understand, because we all have real life commitments. We all have work. We all have family. We all have prearranged things that we can't. I get it. But what you can do, make some clicks. Spread the word. Share it. Share this video. Share the Facebook page. You know what? Find out how you can donate to help cover the costs of this. Find out how you can do whatever you can to spread the word for this, because it's up to us, people. Now, one good thing that I've heard recently over the last day or so with this federal problem is that the White House did reach out to Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation and asked him to come to the White House and talk with a, quote, high-level staffer about these issues and what some of the solutions are and ways that they could do something to help the problems without infringing on people's rights. And if there's anybody in the community that I trust, it's Alan Gottlieb. He's been on the forefront of this fight. He lives and breathes fighting to not only maintain our rights, but to restore them. One lawsuit at a time, as they say. As those of you who've been listening to the show for a while know, I am a life member of the Second Amendment Foundation. I believe in it wholeheartedly. And, that's awesome. But that doesn't mean that we can rely on someone else. Let's get out there. Let's do this, folks. Because we can send the people in the State House a message that we're not going to tolerate this kind of garbage. Let's see. She says that their last rally was in March. See, I never knew about that. If had I known about that one existed, I would have been there. I hadn't heard about that at all. So we need to get some. We need to go out and get some publicity on this. So those of you who might know somebody, let's put bugs in their ears. All right. Now, moving on to what is Roll Call 219's favorite segment of the program, self-defense shoutouts. Self-defense shoutouts are not, for those of you who are new or who have never stuck around to the end of the show, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the death or injury of the bad guy. Self-defense shoutouts are where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves from the bad guy. You know, as NPR tries to say that a good guy with a gun never stops a bad guy with a gun, well, I show them wrong every week. First up is what Calaveras alluded to earlier from KY3.com. It's not so much a self-defense shout-out in that no one got shot. However, a good guy with a gun did stop what could have been a bad guy with a gun. I think it was more a jackass with a gun, but you'll see what I mean here in a moment. Former firefighter stops man armed with 100 rounds of ammunition at South Springfield Walmart from August 8th, 2019. Springfield, Missouri. The Springfield Police Department says it responded to a call of an active shooter at the Walmart Neighborhood Market at Republic Road near Golden Avenue Thursday evening. The Springfield Police Department arrived on scene within 3 minutes of the call. Police stated that a young white male, appearing to be in his 20s, pulled up to the Walmart where he donned body armor and military fatigues. Police say the man had tactical weapons. I saw a picture of this guy. He had an AR-15 and he had the full chest rig and all that good garbage, plate carrier and whatnot. Police then say the man walked into the Walmart Neighborhood Market where he grabbed a cart and began pushing it around the store. Police say the man was recording himself walking through the store via a cell phone. The store manager at the neighborhood market pulled a fire alarm, urging people to escape the store. Police say the man then made his way out an emergency exit where a former firefighter held the man at gunpoint. At the moment, Springfield police arrived on scene and detained the man. The Springfield Police Department could not confirm the nature of statements said by the man to those inside of the Walmart, but they do confirm that the man had loaded weapons and over 100 rounds of ammunition. Well, really, that's nothing. Police also observed many shoppers hiding outside the Walmart and at nearby businesses. Lieutenant Mike Lucas said it was clear the man's intent was to cause chaos, saying in part, his intent was not to cause peace or comfort. He's lucky he's alive, to be honest. Police identified the man's vehicle and are investigating the possibility of more firearms inside the vehicle. Now, let me preface what I'm about to say by saying that I am not against openly carrying anything that you want to carry anywhere you want to carry it. Have at it. I'm not. It is your right as a citizen of the United States to do so. It is a right as a legal resident of the United States to do so. More power to you.
It should be in the holster, though.
It's kind of hard to holster a rifle. But it should be slung, which it was. But still, the point is...
They made back holsters for, old lever actions,
This soon, after the atrocity in El Paso, Texas, where that jackass walked into a Walmart and shot it up, you're going to go to a Walmart in tactical gear with a rifle and be recording yourself? Son, you're not open carrying. You're being an attention whore. You're pulling a stupid stunt to get attention. And you got attention.
That was in Missouri, right?
Yeah. And you got attention. You got the attention you deserve. Frankly, this soon after something like that happened, you're lucky that firefighter didn't put a round through your skull the minute you stepped out into his range. You're lucky. Because there are a lot of people, probably a lot of them watching right here, who would have, just based on what happened. They're not taking the chance. I'm all for exercising your rights because they are your rights. But don't be a dumbass. As I say over and over again, if you play stupid games, you will win stupid prizes.
I always like to say just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely right. Here in Ohio, he would be charged with felony-inducing panic. I don't know what the charge would be in Missouri, but here in Ohio, that would be an inducing panic charge. And normally, when someone's open carrying and they get an inducing panic charge, it's trumped up BS. In this case, you were there to cause chaos. You can't say you weren't. Well, you could say it, but I'm not going to believe it. I'm about the most pro-gun person you'll ever see. I would vote to convict your ass. Yeah, Midnight Range says whatever this guy thought he was trying to prove, he failed. So, moving on to the actual self-defense shoutouts now. This is from August 8th by Fox 46 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shooting at 7-Eleven in Northwest Charlotte leaves one dead, another injured. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police is investigating a shooting that claimed the life of one person and injured another at a convenience store in Northwest Charlotte. Oh, by the way, these two stories, because I'm going to read you two stories about the same incident. Listen to the tone of the two writers. And this is one thing I'm always talking about media bias and how the media shapes the narrative. You can see what I'm talking about in these two stories. You can tell a marked difference. Anyhow, Charlotte Mecklenburg Police is investigating a shooting that claimed the life of one person and injured another at a convenience store in Northwest Charlotte. The shooting was reported just before 4 a.m. Monday at the 7-Eleven located in the 4800 block of Brookshire Boulevard. The store shares a parking lot with an Exxon gas station. Officers said they found a teenage victim with a gunshot wound inside the store. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. A short time later, investigators said a second teen showed up at the 1200 block of Saratoga Drive with a gunshot wound. That person was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. It's unclear what relationship the two victims had to one another. The second teen involved was taken to CMPD headquarters to be interviewed. Police say a store patron shot both suspects. They are working to determine if this is a case of self-defense. So, there's that story. The next story, by Carolyn Hicks and Crandall Sims and the WBTV staff. Armed customer shoots robbery suspects at Charlotte gas station, one dead. Charlotte, North Carolina, WBTV. Police say an armed customer shot two robbery suspects, killing one at a gas station in Northwest Charlotte early Thursday morning. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police say they were called to the 7-Eleven on Brookshire Boulevard near Lawton Road, where they found a male inside with a gunshot wound. According to police, the suspects held the customer at gunpoint and aggressively robbed him. They then attempted to do the same to the clerk. At some point, police say that customer, who had a concealed carry permit, felt his life was in danger when he pulled out his gun and shot both suspects. The suspects have been identified as 16-year-old Quantarius Stafford and 17-year-old Brenna Harris. Stafford was taken to the hospital where he died from injuries suffered in the shooting. Harris fled the business and was later taken to the hospital by medic to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Two handguns were recovered as evidence from the crime scene. One gun was determined to be in Stafford's possession during the armed robbery. The other gun was determined to belong to the customer. Upon release from the hospital, Harris was taken to police headquarters and charged with attempted robbery with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and armed robbery from a person. Upon release from the hospital, Brenna Harris... Okay, yeah, I just read that. Police say they're not looking for any additional suspects in the case. Homicide investigators as well as the DA will determine whether the shooting was justified and if the customer will face any charges. So there you have it, folks. The same incident, two different stories. One would have you believe that these were just good boys coming home from buying Skittles. Yes, I said that with malice aforethought. And they just got brutally gunned down by some random stranger. The other are two criminals engaged in criminal activity who played stupid games and won a stupid prize. Remember, folks, always double check what the story you're hearing to find out if it's true, because this, depending upon who you read, it's a completely different story. Next, police, 17-year-old suspect shot dead during attempted North Nashville restaurant robbery. The WKRN web staff from August 1st. Metro Police say a 17-year-old who tried to rob a North Nashville restaurant Thursday night has died after he was shot by an employee during the crime. Officers responded to Knockout Wings on Jefferson Street around 9:30 p.m. for a reported robbery and shooting. Metro Police say Jalen Cummins was dressed all in black and his face was covered when he walked into the Knockout Wings on Jefferson Street. According to investigators, he demanded cash at gunpoint. 5 employees were inside the restaurant. As one of the female employees dealt with Cummins, one of her co-workers saw an opportunity to retrieve a pistol being carried by another male employee who had his hands up. Cummins was shot and fled the restaurant without any money. He got into a waiting white car. He was then driven more than 10 miles away to Terrace Park Apartments, where he was dropped off at his girlfriend's front door. Cummins did not survive. "It's just tragic," said neighbor Raymond Blair. "It's no good when you lose people young. It's not good when you lose anyone, but these are people who could have great lives. Of course, he could have had a great life if he wouldn't have been going around being a criminal scumbag." Another man saw the teen enter the restaurant. I went in to order my food. I came back outside and saw somebody run in with a gun. When he ran back out, he was shot," said the man. "All I could think of was hurry and get away from here because I didn't want to get hit by a bullet or random shooting. I didn't know where it was coming from." The investigation is ongoing. But no charges were expected against the restaurant employee who shot Cummins. Now the question is, will she be fired? And last but most certainly not least, Commerce City PD. Woman shoots at knife-wielding would-be robber who then flees. By Eric Rubel, KDVR.com. Commerce City, Colorado. A woman shot at a man during an attempted robbery in Commerce City late Sunday morning, according to police. The Commerce City Police Department says about 11 a.m., officers responded to the 14700 block of East 104th Avenue. The area is home to the Aspen Hills condominium complex. When officers arrived, they met with a woman who said she was a realtor and was conducting an open house at a residence. The woman told CCPD a white man in his late 20s or early 30s entered the home, threatened her with a knife, and demanded her to give him some of her possessions. The woman then retrieved a handgun and shot one round at the suspect. Police say it is unknown whether the man was struck. The suspect fled the area in an unknown direction. The woman was taken to a local hospital for treatment of injuries that are not life-threatening. CCPD did not describe the woman's injuries. Officers searched the area, but were unable to find the suspect. So there you go, folks. We have several instances where a good guy with a gun, good God, where a good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun, despite what the hoplophobes would have you think. So let me go ahead and thank everybody for coming in and watching this. I want to say a particular thank you to everybody out there in the chat and my panelists here. Let me go ahead and run through the panel. Any final thoughts? Final thoughts, pieces of advice, wisdom, some anything you want to plug? Let's go ahead with Squibload. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Nah.
Okay, Squibby's good. Night Strike, go ahead and plug your Indiegogo again, guy. Put it out there in the, whatchamacallit, out in the chat.
You mean that one?
Yep, that one. Go check this out, guys. Support it.
Well, we're working hard on it. We kind of had a decent test this afternoon, and I say decent because it kind of worked. And then it cut out, so definitely need new hardware.
Well, that's why we test, right?
Yeah, right. That's why we test. So check that out. And yeah, I think we need to leave on this note. Shall not be infringed.
That's right. That is always a good statement of policy.
Mm.
And last but certainly not least, the one, the only, the kingpin himself, David Bowling. Anything you'd like to leave us with, sir? Anything you'd like to plug?
No, not plug anything, but thank you everybody in the chat room for always hanging out with us and making the show what it is, and thank you for Budget for doing such a great job at hosting.
Well, despite my amateur hour technical difficulty stuff, one of these days I will look like a smooth, polished professional someday. I would like to leave us with this. Clicking the link out there in the chat again. Go visit the Facebook page, sign up, share it. Even if you're not from Ohio, please share it in your social media. Let's go ahead and publicize this. Get the word out. We need to make this happen, folks. We need to make this happen. Not just happen. We need to make this happen big. We need to make this. We need to make our voices heard here in Ohio to protect our rights, because if they can do it here, they can do it where you are too. So do everything you can to help this out. Like to thank everybody out there in the chat who came by and watched. I'd like to thank Julie for coming out here and watching this. Maybe at a future broadcast before this, we can get you on so you can talk about this. You and the other organizers of the rally, we can get you guys on and talk about this. So let's make sure that we do everything that we can. You know, it's so important, people. Again, I'm always humbled and amazed that so many of you have stuck around for so long. Some of you from beginning to end in the broadcast. I am always just astounded that you guys want to hear what I have to say. So I'll leave you with my traditional, especially in these dark times. Let your Congress critters and elected representatives know what you think. Send them snail mail, email, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, semaphore, heliograph, runners, bicycle messengers, rallies. Do anything that you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight.